Hello, welcome to my political news opinion review of major news from February of 2020. This is the series where I try to provide my opinion on major news from the previous month, and some personal news relating to politics. This practice occurs so that the people have a record of my opinions as I go into the business and political fields that are my passion. In this video, I cover the true beginning of the 2020 election, and the true beginning of the 2020 election. No. In February of 2020, the following events occurred, and will be covered to some extent in this video. How the early 2020 Democratic presidential primaries and caucuses played out, the early 2020 Republican presidential primaries, the early 2020 Libertarian presidential primaries and caucuses results, and the early 2020 Green Party presidential primaries and caucuses results. Many other significant news stories occurred, but the focus of February was largely just presidential politics. 2020 Democrats. In February, Democrats voted in Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, and South Carolina. In Iowa, Bernie Sanders won the popular vote, though Pete Buttigieg was unexpectedly competitive, and due to how delegates are allotted, Buttigieg won slightly more delegates than Bernie did. Also notable was Joe Biden, the national frontrunner, performing unexpectedly poorly, coming in fourth place in the state and failing to reach viability 15% at some caucus locations. Additionally, despite this indication of a close contest between Sanders and Buttigieg, we didn't know the final results until much later due to a variety of issues, including complications with an app used by the Iowa Democratic Party, inconsistencies in reports, and jammed phone lines. As a result of this confusion and possible corruption, it was not clear if Iowa had an impact other than determining that there would be far fewer caucuses in 2024, as the normal dropouts of various underperforming candidates, as is usual after Iowa, did not occur. With only a vague understanding of Iowa's results, Democratic voters in New Hampshire went to the polls a few days later. Bernie Sanders won the state with a strong performance from Pete Buttigieg and unexpectedly Amy Klobuchar. Biden coming in at another disappointing finish in 5th place. This started the narrative of a possible Sanders v. Buttigieg v. Klobuchar race, a highly unexpected outcome, and caused a lot of doubt for Joe Biden's chances of winning. This also cemented Bernie Sanders as the front runner in the nomination process, having effectively won both of the first two states. Then there was Nevada, a state with a much larger racial ethnic diversity than either of the first two states. Due to the mainstream media myth of the so-called, quote, Bernie Bros, end quote, many media organizations called it a test for Bernie Sanders' appeal among the Latinx and other non-white voter demographics, while also acknowledging that Biden needed a better showing in the state in order to prove he was at least somewhat viable. And there was also speculation regarding whether Buttigieg and/or Klobuchar could continue to have good results. When results came in, Bernie Sanders won Nevada by a large margin, especially among Latinx voters, with Joe Biden coming in second place. As the media came to terms with the facts regarding, quote, T.O. Bernie, end quote, and his win, many controversial statements or actions occurred, especially so on the anti-Bernie MSNBC network, leading to apologies, promises to offer fairer coverage, and even some firings. Additionally, Biden was able to use his second place finish as a way to justify continuing and reinvigorating the argument that he was the best chance for a moderate candidate to win. Finally, there was South Carolina, which after Bernie's win looked competitive between Bernie and Biden until an influential endorsement came Biden's way from a member of Congress from South Carolina. South Carolina's Democratic voters, a majority African American electorate, gave Biden his first presidential primary win ever, leading Biden to once again be considered a serious contender for the nomination, and leading to a decline in support for other moderate candidates in the race. 2020 Republicans. Even though it is a 99.99% chance that Donald Trump will be renominated, he does face some primary challengers, though Trump has won all but one delegate in the primaries and caucuses so far. Trump's opponents who met the requirements of, quote, major candidate, meaning those who have held public office, been in at least 5 independent national polls, or received significant media coverage, include Bill Weld, Rocky De La Fuente, and Joe Walsh. Let's explore why these men think they should be President of the United States. Bill Weld is a former governor of Massachusetts, and the only other candidate who have won a delegate in the Republican nominating process. In 2016, he was selected to be the Libertarians' vice presidential candidate with Libertarian presidential candidate Gary Johnson. Weld is more liberal on social issues and conservative on economic issues, much like the Libertarian Party. ABC News identified Weld's priorities as income inequality, balancing the federal budget, and climate change, which shows off the libertarian philosophy held by Weld. Rocky De La Fuente is a very interesting man who has run in various campaigns for seemingly dubious reasons. In 2016, he ran for president in the Democratic primaries, only to then create the American Delta Party and having supporters vote in the Reform Party primary to also secure their nomination, despite his platform being at odds with the Reform Party. Also in 2016, Fuente ran for Senate in Florida as a Democrat, despite living in California. In 2017, Fuente ran for the Republican nomination in the New York City mayoral campaign, running into problems with the law that required candidates for mayor to live in New York, to which Fuente claimed that he had attempted to purchase an apartment in the city, but was denied due to his Hispanic heritage. In 2018, Fuente ran for U.S. Senate as a Republican in California, Washington, Florida, Wyoming, Hawaii, Minnesota, Vermont, Delaware, and Rhode Island, claiming it was to show problems in election laws. And in 2020, in addition to his presidential bid, he also ran in the primary for the U.S. House of Representatives seat in California as a Republican, which his son Ricardo was also running for as a Democrat. Speaking of his son, Ricardo won the Democratic nomination on the same day as the California primary for a House of Representatives seat in Texas, as well as Ricardo being on the ballot in the Democratic presidential primary in some states. Joe Walsh, who has dropped out of the race but participated in the Republican Iowa caucuses. Walsh served a single term in the United States House of Representatives from Illinois from 2011 to 2013, and was a conservative talk radio host. After his congressional career, he made many he said very controversial things, from racist comments to encouraging extreme violence. Whenever he started his campaign for president, he claimed he felt personally responsible for Donald Trump due to some of his comments and apologized for them. The fact that Walsh feels this way is odd, considering that in 2016 he tweeted, quote, "On November 8th, I'm voting for Trump. On November 9th, if Trump loses, I'm grabbing my musket. You in?" End quote. Later claiming that this meant he would protest a Trump loss. Not anything violent. Wow. 2020 Libertarians. In January and February, Libertarians voted in New Hampshire, Iowa, and Minnesota. New Hampshire saw Vermin Supreme win the state, a man well known for his joke campaigns. Supreme wears a boot on his head and has policies such as mandatory toothbrushing, switching to the renewable energy source that is zombie power, quote, fun centration camps, universal pony ownership, and redefining a crime as, quote, any act that disagrees with, denies, or otherwise opposes vermin's enforced freedoms, including but not limited to traveling without your pony or not flossing your teeth, and any act that causes harm to another person or people, end quote. In Iowa and Minnesota, Jacob Hornberger won. Hornberger calls welfare programs mandatory charity and claims they should all be repealed. Believes that abortion is a state issue, though also believes that life starts at conception, despite that going against the scientific definition of what life is. Believes in climate change, but also believes that the government should not be involved in improving the environment. Hornberger also believes in separating schools and the government, as well as viewing attention deficit disorder as nothing more than kids rebelling against public schools instead of a legitimate disorder that affects people everywhere they go. Also considered, quote, major candidates for the Libertarian nomination are Lincoln Chafee, one of the people who ran for the Democratic nomination in 2016 and made it into a few debates, John McAfee, who is the guy responsible for McAfee Security, but also is crazier than Vermin Supreme, but also a billionaire and a criminal, and just look him up. And Max Abramson, who is actually a member of the New Hampshire legislature, and states that his presidential run is more about gaining state-level representation for the Libertarian Party, which, by the way, does have rational members, just not many running for president. 2020 Green Party. The Green Party held the Minnesota and Ohio caucuses in February. Dario Hunter won Minnesota, though the caucus is not binding and delegates will be awarded at a later date. Hunter is a Muslim-born Jewish rabbi who is also openly gay. Hunter's positions include a People of Color Bill of Rights, supporting the boycott on Israel, and recognizing the illegal activities that Israel uses in its conflict with Palestine, and addressing plastic-based pollution. Howie Hawkins, who is the co-founder of the Green Party and the Socialist Party USA's nominee for president in 2020, won the Ohio caucus. Hawkins's policies include an eco-socialist version of the Green New Deal. Note, before Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez made her version of the Green New Deal popular, the Green Party had already campaigned on the idea. An economic Bill of Rights and, quote, peace policies, end quote, like a 75% reduction in the military budget, and working toward nuclear disarmament. Also considered, quote, major candidates, end quote, for the Green Party's nomination. David Rold, who believes 9/11 was a United States and Zionist plot, and considers the United States an illegitimate white nationalist colony on stolen land. Dennis Lambert, who is campaigning for a rebuilding of the infrastructure system with environmentally friendly methods. Sedanam Kanamo Kristen Mayo Ifza Curry, who advocates ecological economies, ending all wars, a wealth tax, and reparations. Kent Mesplay, who uniquely wants to, quote, relocalize, end quote, American society and culture, and Chad Wilson, who seems to want to reorganize the party itself, likely hoping to improve the party's performances after such reforms take place. Please like this video, share it with friends and family, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, making sure to hit the bell icon. Please also check out my Instagram at Lopez4OKill, Twitter at Lopez4OKill, and Facebook, facebook.com/colby.lopez.12, which all should be linked in the description. Please stay safe, wash your hands, and stay calm. I am Colby Lopez, and I approve this message.